Dear ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to this year's e-government conference subtitled Human-Centric Digital Transformation of Public Sector. My name is Matej Golop, and I will be accompanying you today throughout the agenda of this fine event. I said a warm welcome, although if I look out from the window, we are based here in Ljubljana, as are many team members from the organization team and also many speakers. It's not so warm. We have fresh snow here in Ljubljana, Slovenia, which is also okay since it's in the middle of December. So let me give you a little bit of introduction into the conference, and then we'll kick it off. We have a really nice agenda, a lot of speakers, a lot going on throughout the day. So this conference follows actually the tradition of numerous other e-government events under previous presidencies of the Council of the European Union. We have speakers from public administration, international organizations, business, academia, and NGOs who are presenting their inspiring examples of good practice, strategies, projects, and research. The conference itself will allow participants on stage and also those of you who are just attending to discuss the current topics and also to maintain contacts with other experts from other EU countries, European Commission, other international organizations, and we're also including Western Balkan countries into the mix. We're going to have various panels which will cover the topics of current EU issues, public administration topics, service design, co-creation, innovation, e-democracy, digital skills, business, and the economy. So a nice mix of topics here, and you'll see we have a really good event ahead of us. As said, this year's conference will place a special emphasis on the human-centric digital transformation of public sector. Now, we have obviously a little bit of slides to accompany the agenda, and I will also cover a little bit of a housekeeping notes in the beginning, and then I'll give the word to the first speakers. So basically, as some of you could hear, you were here, just before we started, it said it's being recorded, so we need to say this, this conference is recorded. For our purposes, it's going to be available to review certain parts that you maybe missed, especially because there are two panels. So I just want to make sure that we all know that. Now, the other part is, which is really interesting, we have had, at least the last count by yesterday evening was, I think, about 430 or so registered participants. Obviously, not all could arrive, but also it's pretty international. So we had registered participants from more than 40 countries. I think it was 45 at the end. So obviously, most of the EU countries, but then also pretty an international picture here. And because we have such an international audience here from speakers and also attendees, we would like to have this as interactive as possible. So we have Q&A sessions throughout the agenda, and there are a couple of ways how you attendees can interact with us here on stage. So first of all, there's chat. Yeah, so most of you are familiar with Zoom. There's chat button, and then you pose the questions there, and then as we have Q&A, we're going to take them. The other one is during the Q&A, you can raise the hand. There's the button also there available for you, and then there's the Q&A, which is a little more structured. So we will be gathering the questions in the Q&A, and there's a possibility to upvote them. And again, as there will be Q&A in the agenda, we will take them with the speakers. The way we will take the questions, we will actually give you the opportunity to actually ask it live. So we have here on stage the button to give you allowed to talk the permission, which is the same as if we would be in the conference hall and there would be hostess coming with a mic. So be prepared. We are looking forward for your interaction, for your questions, and it's going to be as interactive as you want it to be. So the slide that you have been seeing for the last couple of minutes just before we started had this QR code, and if you scanned it, it actually leads you to the main website, the landing page of the conference, where we have the full agenda. I will obviously take you through the agenda, speaker by speaker, session by session, and so on. But at any time you want to, you have full agenda and speakers and everything on the website, current as it is. A snapshot view of what's going to happen today. We have, let's say, this structure of three parts. In the first part, we have two plenary sessions, introduction, and then global international reviews, part one. And then we have three parallel sessions with a lunch break in between. And then we conclude with three more plenary sessions, the part two of global international reviews, the final discussion panel, which is going to be really interesting, and then obviously the closing of the conference. With that, let me bring you to the session one, which is introduction. We have two really good introduction speakers. First of them is Mr. Boštjan Kuritnik, Minister of Public Administration of Republic of Slovenia. He's going to cover the welcome and opening speech by the Slovenian presidency, which is the hosting organization. So, dear Minister, I'm giving you the stage.
Dear guests, experts, and friends of e-government, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure to open the traditional e-government conference this year organized by the Slovenian presidency of the Council of the EU. Since we cannot hold live event at the moment, I do hope you enjoyed the video and that you will visit our beautiful Slovenia soon on some other occasion. E-government and information society have been an important policy objective in Slovenia, as well as in Europe for almost 3 decades now. Several ministerial declarations adopted so far demonstrate the continued high political priority given to this area. Furthermore, the COVID-19 pandemic has shown us that digital transformation is not just necessary, but actually critically needed in our everyday life. We have adapted our way of living, working, and studying, and this wouldn't have been possible without the development and improvement of digital services for our citizens. These services demonstrate what an active role public administration plays in digital transformation focused on people. Human centricity is crucial for the development of digital services. This is why we put it at the very heart of today's conference called Human-Centric Digital Transformation of Public Sector. Every citizen should have, in person and online, a possibility to participate actively, continuously, and responsibly in the community at all levels. An advanced and inclusive approach can also help public administrations make better digital services, which will bring more value added to the end users. But the use of advanced digital technologies is only possible if citizens are in favor of digital solutions, if they know how to use them, and if they recognize their value. And therefore, it is necessary to offer freely accessible and user-friendly digital services. Moreover, we should not forget trust. Trust is a must. And promoting transparency, ethical approaches, and active involvement of all groups in society can make an important contribution to trust and social cohesion also. I believe that fears related to the use of digital technology are overcome when users become aware of the benefits and potentials that, for instance, e-health, e-government, and other digital devices or applications bring. For that reason, we should carry out activities that will change our attitude and promote trainings for digital competences and skills of our citizens. Of course, we should not forget safety and security, as it is our duty to protect users as well as systems from abuse and intrusion. I firmly believe that the European Union can be a leader in digital services that put users in the center. The Digital Compass shows Europe's ambitious targets for digital transformation. By 2030, all key public services should be available online. All citizens should have access to their e-medical records, and 80% of citizens should use digital ID solution. The European Union has often served as an example beyond borders, and it should continue to do so also in the field of digital transformation. I'm convinced that today's conference will provide inspiring examples of good practice, strategies, projects, and research works.
Thank you, dear Minister. I do have a question for you. So I'm going to touch the Slovenian presidency of the Council of the EU, which is slowly coming to an end, with December being the final month of the presidency. What would you say were the biggest accomplishment of presidency in the digital field?
Firstly, there were many. And in Slovenia, we firmly believe that digitalization should improve the quality of public services and should make life easier for our citizens. And therefore, digital transformation, digital technologies, and cybersecurity are not yet were, but are the priorities of our EU presidency. And I'm very proud to say that the Council we have achieved great progress on several legislative acts that will accelerate digital transformation and will strengthen the EU autonomy. General approach was achieved on several acts. First, on Digital Services Act DSA and Digital Markets Act DMA, that will create a more open, competitive, and safer online space and digital market for all EU citizens. Second, on Directive on Measures for a High Common Level of Cybersecurity across the Union, or shorter the NIS2 Directive, that will further improve the resilience and capacity to respond to cyber incidents in the EU. Also, it is my great pleasure to say that the negotiations with the European Parliament are concluded on the Data Governance Act that will facilitate the reuse of data and will contribute to the creation of common European data spaces. 2 days ago, for instance, we concluded the negotiations with the Parliament, also on the roaming regulation, which is perhaps the most tangible achievement for our citizens and will enable us to extend the benefits of Roam like at home policy for another 10 years. Last but not least, we presented the first compromise proposal on the Artificial Intelligence Act, which will foster the development and uptake of safe and lawful AI that respects fundamental rights. Besides legislative achievements, I'm very happy that we organized several digital events, such as Cybersecurity Conference, High-Level Conference on AI, and SAMI Conference, to name just a few. And we have put a lot of efforts in our ambitious goals, and I'm proud that we have achieved excellent results.
Thank you very much, and also this conference right now is also being one of them. Thank you for your introduction. If I may, one more question. Since you're the first intro speaker to the conference, do you have any initial message to raise the temperature and kick off the conference?
Well, since it's cold outside, it's not hard to raise the temperature, right? But I believe it's Friday, and I believe it's a great day to end the week with some positive thoughts, some focus to the future. I mean, the present and the past has some problems, but future only brings challenges. So I believe the conference will add a lot to a nice weekend and a lot to think about in the days to come.
Thank you very much, dear Minister. Thank you for the kind introduction words. I'm going to move on now to our next speaker, our first keynote address. Mr. Roberto Viola, Director General of the Directorate General for Communications Networks, Content Technology, DG CNECT at the European Commission. Mr. Viola, the stage is yours.
Good morning from Brussels. Also here is snowing, just that we feel closer but a bit cold throughout Europe. Let me first of all thank you for inviting me to this conference, and at the same time thank really warmly, wholeheartedly the Slovenian presidency for the important achievements in digital. Minister Kortnik has just mentioned few of them, and they are rather impressive. So when the Slovenian presidency set the ambitions for digital, those ambitions were high, but now these ambitions are facts. So many thanks, Slovenia, for the hard work and these important achievements. We are not living in normal times. We are living unprecedented times. Unprecedented in many respects. There's no conference that we start without saying digital, it's now the way of living, everything has changed. And of course, this conference is no exception, but this conference has the right, in a certain sense, to do so, because it will take stock of the unprecedented change we have had in terms of citizens interacting with administration, with the healthcare system, with public services. And I think we have passed from the theory of digital being important, because for most of European, let's face it, digital interaction was unknown before the pandemic, to the practice of every day. I think every citizen now is well aware of what is the importance of interacting digitally, what is the importance of connecting with public services in a secure and a remote way. There's one example above all that also demonstrates what the minister said, how Europe can be a leader in the world when it comes to digital public services. Europe has steadily invested in the last 20 years and created a system which is unique in the world of interoperable digital services, which respect privacy and which are the service of the citizen, the so-called citizen-centered model. And we had to use these skills in very few months to create a digital proof of COVID certificate, the COVID certificate of vaccination, of recovery, or testing. We had to do it to keep our society going, to make sure citizens could move and access places freely and safely. And we have done it in 3 months. This is a certificate which is digitally signed by central administration, stored in every citizen smartphone or printed and verifiable throughout Europe, but not only. We have now more than 50 countries around the world that sum up for more than 2 billion citizens that are using the European standard. We have created the world reference standard of secure, trusted proof of an event, in this case is vaccination, based on the tools and the instrument that we have been working together for the last 20 years. So this is, I find it quite remarkable. We have collectively in Europe issued more than 800 million COVID certificates. As I said, we connect the whole world in the 4 continents, and the system is in every pocket of the citizens, and I'm sure it is in your pocket as well. I think this is a starting point. Of course, we want to forget the COVID certificate as quickly as possible, and the future will tell us how long we will need this instrument. But maybe proving vaccination digitally will be, or in such a compelling way, I hope will be something we will remember of a difficult past, but it will be the norm when now you think about the evolution of this way of proving an event, in this case, whatever event linked with the vaccination or recovery or test, will become proving that you need to go to a pharmacy, no matter where in Europe, and you need medicine, or proving, that you have done certain exam, or showing this exam, or proving, that you have a parking permit, or proving that you have the possibility to offer and use certain services. In other words, the citizen becomes the center of handling a number of attributes, a number of identities, a number of qualities, a number of events, and handing over those attributes, those qualifications, those entities to the public administration, to other fellow citizens, to other service providers, in order to make the life of the citizen simple and to have everything under the control of the citizen. This is the vision of the European digital identity. The centerpiece of our digital decade, when it comes to the human-centric transformation of public administration, it's actually ourselves. It's actually this wallet, that's the way we call it, where qualities, identities can be exchanged. Of course, we have started with a case which was very compelling and very necessary, but now we can work together, and that's what it is already happening. So the European Commission has presented the legal proposal for the European digital identity. It's the first legal proposal of the world system for interacting. So we are already working together. We hope that the legislation, thanks also that very good work that the Slovenian president has done, can be approved quickly, but we are not waiting for the legislation to be approved. We are actually making sure that we are already developing the services which can go in this European identity wallet. We are, for instance, working on digital driving licenses that can be recognized everywhere in Europe. We are working on digital student cards with, all what needs for a student to be proven to access services. We are working on digital transport cards that can again be stored in the wallet. We are working on interoperable and omnicomprehensive digital wallet when it comes to healthcare. And when I say we are working, we are doing it for real. We are not changing the system as such. We are not creating a new identity, which is called the European identity. We are federating the effort of each and every member state with their developing national wallets. And we are actually making sure that those wallets, like very much the COVID certificate, which is not a unique system. I mean, every health system has its own way to issue the certificate. But the standard is the same. And that makes possible the QR code to be read everywhere in Europe and now almost everywhere in the world. And that is the same we will do with the European identity, with the European digital identity. Every attribute that the citizens will receive from the administration will be possible to show everywhere. It will be possible to sign a contract, for instance, for gas and electricity provision or for telecommunication provision, or to open a bank account using the wallet. We have proven that this is not science fiction. This can be done. And probably if there's a place in the world where this can be done quickly, this is Europe. The other reason why we are entering a real revolution when it comes to digital public services is that we are fueling this impressive transformation of user-centric way of handling, the interaction with administration and with the rest of public services, with an impressive investment that comes from the Recovery and Resilience Plan. The Recovery and Resilience Plan, you know, it has been the Europe response to the pandemic to quickly recover, to enter into the age of the green and digital transformation, to enter into the age of the digital decade. We have collectively plans for 45 billion euros of investment in digital public services in the recovery plan. It's an impressive amount of funds, never heard before. These funds account almost 40% of the total recovery plan allocation for digital. So they are really the lion's share where it comes to digital investment in Europe. Because this is the European model. This is the European model which is citizen-centric, public-oriented, at the service of the citizens. And through that, of course, you expand to other services, such as payment services, financial services, transport services. If we see the breakdown in policy area, we have more than 20 billion that are invested in projects in e-government, 12 billion in the digitalization of healthcare system, 7 billion in the digitalization of transport, and more than 3 billion in the digitalization of interaction between citizens and energy companies. This really is impressive. And what is also very important, it is that those investments are linked to reforms. Because in a way, there's this very nice synergy between changing the society and using the technology, human-centered technology, such as digital identity wallets, to actually make everything a bit simpler, cheaper, and easier, and safe and privacy-friendly for the citizens. So there are, as milestones and target of the recovery plan, important reform planned all over Europe that will allow the introduction by default of digital health records, the introduction of digitization in the justice system, in the administration, in public transport. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think we live in an unprecedented time, but also the good part of it is unprecedented. Is this our collective effort to use what we have been doing in the last 20 years now at its best, to exit from the pandemic and to change Europe. And I'm sure that our strength, which is working collectively with this human-centered vision, is the vision that I hope will be discussed in this conference. And I wish everyone really to enjoy the conference, and we will be reading with interest and listening to the contribution of each of you. Many thanks for listening to me.
Thank you very much indeed. And with that, we are concluding the first session introduction. Thank you, Mr. Boštjan Koritnik, and thank you, Director General Roberto Viola, for these kind introductory words.